In business, it is super important to understand the difference between income and profit. For example, if an author makes $1 million a year but has $950,000 worth of expenses, that person's net profit is only $50,000. Yet, typically, other authors refer to such authors as seven-figure authors. On the other hand, take an author who makes $500,000 a year and their expenses are $50,000. This person's net profit is $450,000. In the author world, people seem to think that the first author, who is commonly referred to, somewhat wrongfully, as a seven-figure author, is doing much better than the second author. If you've ever watched Dragon's Den or Shark Tank, you will see that people say they have made a certain income in the last 12 months. The dragons or sharks then ask them how much of that was net profit. And sometimes these people have actually made a loss. In the business world, it's the net profit that counts. There is no point making a high income if your profit is minimal. Income is the total revenue your business generates from sales. It ignores expenses. Net profit, however, is what remains after all the expenses have been subtracted. This is why net profit is the more critical number. It shows you how much you're actually keeping at the end of the day, once all expenses have been accounted for. Income doesn't tell the whole story. A business can have a high income but still struggle to break even. In the author world, there's a lot of focus on big numbers without the understanding that these numbers are income, total revenue, not actual net profit. What really matters is net profit, how much you're actually keeping once every expense is accounted for. Take the example I started with, an author who makes $1 million a year in revenue but has $950,000 in expenses. Their net profit is just $50,000. Compare that to another author who makes $500,000 a year but keeps their expenses to $50,000. This second author's net profit is $450,000. This author is actually making considerably more money than the first author. Yet, the first author is referred to as a seven-figure author, and the perception is that the second author is not making anywhere near the first author's income. The problem is that authors usually equate income with success, but income ignores expenses, and that's why it's so misleading. It's the net profit that determines whether a business is actually thriving. It's easy to be misled by big numbers. They sound impressive, and they can boost an author's credibility with other authors. But without net profit, those numbers are hollow. Any business focused on income alone can look successful, but be struggling behind the scenes. When someone claims they're a seven-figure author, you need to ask the next question. What is the net profit? Without that context, the numbers don't mean anything. Focusing on net profit isn't just about understanding your own business. It's also about seeing through the noise in other businesses. Whether it's entrepreneurs pitching their ideas on TV or authors speaking about their alleged success, don't be fooled by income alone. It's the net profit that reveals the real story. Ultimately, what you keep matters more than what you make. Income might sound impressive, but net profit is what gives you the freedom to grow, adapt, and thrive in the long term. It's the number that truly counts. It is quite misleading that the author world considers somebody whose income is seven figures but whose net profit is minimal to be more successful than somebody who has a much lower income value but whose net profit is high. The bottom line, the second author in my example has actually made considerably more than the first author. Authors need to think like business owners. This especially applies to authors who have an e-commerce business, not just a retailer business. So then, would you rather be an author who has an income of $1 million and a net profit of $30,000, or an author who has an income of $200,000 and a net profit of $150,000? Authors tend to ignore net profit completely. Anybody can make a high income level if they have enough budget to throw ads at their books. But are they actually making a profit? Please pay attention to net profit, not income. Remember, net profit is what truly counts.